Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling, and I'm your host. So I've waited a little while to talk about the traitors in Canadian Parliament. I wanted to see if the Liberals will do something right. They clearly are not going to do anything by us. They're going to just protect themselves. They're going to protect their party like all Marxists do. They're going to put the party before the people. They're going to put the party before what is right. They're going to put their own specialized interests. They're going to put their own personalized interests above everyone else. These people are supposed to be leading us, but really they're just leeching from us. We shouldn't call them leaders. We should call them leeches. And the government wants me to call them honorable. They're so honorable that they're hiding at least 7 Liberals who are in, but it looks like it's up to 10 Liberals who are actively colluding with hostile foreign governments. That's how honorable these guys are, people are. All right, so Frank Caputo went after Dominic LeBlanc pretty aggressively. And if you listen closely, you can hear Jennifer O'Connell start screaming across the room. And that kind of bothers me because she's the first one to say that as soon as you interrupt her, it's all about, it's all because she's a girl. That's the only reason you interrupt her is because she's a girl. But when it goes the other way, apparently it's a boo-hoo situation and you're not allowed to complain about it. Again, this person is supposed to be setting an example and leading the way. What kind of example does this set? Does this set an example of entitlement? Does this set an example of responsibility? Which one do you think that it is? You can leave me what you believe in the comments. All right, it's a pretty good exchange. I'm not going to interrupt it. Let's take a listen.
The NSCOP report that was recently released reveals that parliamentarians, including members of our House and the House of Commons, knowingly and deliberately assisted a hostile foreign state to the detriment of the people of Canada. This places a cloud of suspicion over every single member of the House, elected members. Do you know the names of these people?
Mr. Chair, through you to Mr. Caputo, thank you for the question. I am updated regularly, and I think in a complete way, by our intelligence agencies, by the RCMP, by the Department of Public Safety. So I am very comfortable that I have the information that I need to do the work that I have to do, but you'll understand that discussing the details, particularly of the most sensitive information, is not something that we want to do publicly.
Well, I'm not asking you to discuss sensitive information. I'm asking whether you know the names. Do you know the names, yes or no?
I know a number of names that were surfaced in various intelligence products that I have seen, but I was not in the room when the Committee of Parliamentarians did their work. I don't have the exact details of which documents they saw and didn't see, but I'm very comfortable that I have access to all of the most important intelligence information, which would include, in some cases, names.
Okay, so people who are alleged, and in some cases, according to our intelligence communities, to have committed some of the most serious offences known to Canadian law. Are you prepared to release those names, yes or no?
No, Mr. Chair.
You will not release the names of members, elected members, operating in the House of Commons. Do you think Canadians have a right to know, yes or no?
Mr. Chair, I think it's important for Canadians to understand that these names are contained in intelligence reports. In some cases, it's uncorroborated or unverified intelligence information. I think we would need to be very careful to understand that, as the director himself has said, intelligence is often a series of pieces of a puzzle. One particular piece of the puzzle, an intelligence source or information, may not have a context, may be discredited or altered by subsequent information. So the idea that there's a perfect list of names that is entirely reliable that should be released to the public is simply irresponsible.
Minister, the NSCOP report doesn't equivocate like you just did. The NSCOP report is clear, incredibly clear on names. Do you think Canadians should have the right to know?
Not actually clear on names.
I'm not done my
Mr.
question,
Chair.
Minister. Do you think Canadians have the right to know when they go to cast an X next to the name of somebody in the next 15 months, the very thing that we're dealing with here in Bill C-70, do you think they have the right to know whether their member is under the influence of a hostile foreign state? Yes or no?
Mr. Chair, I think Canadians know, and I'm confident that they have every reason to be reassured that our intelligence agencies and the RCMP take their responsibilities extraordinarily seriously, have the resources necessary to investigate, and should the RCMP, for example, in their wisdom, decide that charges should be laid in consultation with the appropriate prosecutors, that's our system in a rule of law democracy. It's not simply releasing a series of names or doing, as Mr. Caputo says he's concerned about, casting aspersions himself on everybody by pretending that there's some perfect list of names that the government's not releasing. No other Western democracy knows this, and Mr. Caputo knows that certainly in the government of Mr. Harper, even that kind of conversation wouldn't have been conceivable. So I think there's a certain disingenuous element, Mr. Chair, in Mr. Caputo's theatrics this morning.
Disingenuous element. Under Mr. Harper's government, we did not get a report that said foreign state actors had infiltrated. Under Mr. Harper's government, we did not have reports saying that foreign state actors had dealt with this. Now, under current legislation, you can disclose top secret information when in the public interest. What would be more in the public interest than a person who could be elected and they are under the thumb of a hostile state actor? You can do that. So when you talk about disingenuous, you can do this. Why won't you before the next election?
Mr. Chair, speaking of disingenuous, in Mr. Harper's government, the National Security Committee of Parliamentarians didn't exist because Mr. Harper's government didn't believe that parliamentarians should have access to this information or be able to review the work of our intelligence agencies. Mr. Harper's government in 2013, CSIS publicly identified an increasing risk of foreign interference in our democratic institutions, and the Harper government did absolutely nothing. So again, Mr. Chair, I think it's important to have a context to these comments.
So you are okay with us going into an election, people putting an X beside a name where they have a cloud of suspicion, every single one of us. Let's face it, Minister, I think if there were six Conservatives on that list and no other Liberals, we would have had the names. Let's be honest here.
Thank you.
So you can hear her screaming left and right. And I'm telling you right now, that woman, like I don't like anybody who doesn't practice what they preach. And I really don't care about what party you are in. If you don't practice what you preach, then you can sell it walking, as they say, right? Like, I don't want to hear it. So I think that it's very childish, very immature, but it does indicate that maybe she's on the list. Maybe her name is on the list, and that's why she's screaming and yelling from across the room. Maybe it's one of the problems with her being on the committee is because her name is on the list. I don't really care at this point whose names they are. I think that we as Canadians have the right to see those names. It has been long enough now. You could have taken the steps to put all of the secret information and the private stuff all away. These are traitors in our midst. They are in our highest levels of government, and they work for other governments. They don't work for the Canadian people. They work for the government. And every day, every minute that the Liberal Party ignores this, every second that the NDP supports the Liberal government, they are all colluding to destroy this country. They are all colluding with other governments to undermine the democratic system of Canada. As a people, we need to bring the understanding that it's time for them to bring a vote. This is you can say whatever you want about it not being their fault that they don't know how to balance the budget. But they absolutely, these people told secrets, and those people have to be brought to prison. They have to be put in front of they have to be brought to account. And if the federal NDP and the federal Liberals are not willing to do so, then I think that it's time we started to re-examine how qualified they are to hold the positions of such power. That's just my opinion. All right, I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you all for listening. I would appreciate it if you would like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that I can reach you. I'll talk to you next time.